This is Mr. Gigabytes, and this is the Gigsplained podcast. With me, as always, is my sidekick, Serenity.
Hello, lovely people.
And as you'll notice, we have a third guest with us today, Mr. Jamie Morgan. The man,
Hello, everybody.
The man, the myth, the legend, Morgan Just Games. You know, we keep talking about you, but this is the first time we've had you on, so that's awesome.
Thank you.
What we're going to talk about today is video gaming and how kind of our experiences and experiences growing up in different environments with different video game systems it's different from person to person, from place to place, from generation to generation. And so I'm actually going to have Serenity describe some of the things that she plays nowadays, and the types of things that the types of games, what she likes to play. So go ahead and kind of describe what you've played in the past.
So I've played Fortnite. I like the parkour in Fortnite, really, because I'm a parkour person. And I played Minecraft, and Roblox. I have very few horror games because like barely of them are free, and so yeah. The one horror game I do have is Do not take this cat home.
Do not take this cat home.
It's a horror game. It's a horror game on a cat.
Alright.
Yeah, you find it in the alleyway and you take it in or leave it, and there's like multiple answers that you can do.
Does it look like Jasper?
What? The cat is like black with golden eyes.
Black with golden eyes.
That's a no then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the cat is really cute, but like, yeah.
So what kind of systems do you play on? You play a lot on your phone.
Yeah.
I don't know that, because like Roblox and Minecraft, you can play on the computer, but do you play that exclusively on the computer, or do you play it on your phone?
I play that stuff on my computer when I feel like it.
When you feel like it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so one of the first phones that she ever got was like a BlackBerry Curve, and she would you were like 1 or 2 years old when I gave that to you. It was an old phone of mine, and because it had a physical keyboard on it, you could download a couple of games for toddlers where they would mash the keyboard and it would make sounds and do shapes and do all kinds of things. And she would actually the game was supposed to lock the phone so that you couldn't get out of it. There was no way to get out of it. She eventually figured out. What?
Hey.
Hang on. Technical difficulties.
Oh.
It stopped recording, and there we go.
Mom just left. She's coming our way.
Oh, is she? Okay. Well, maybe we'll have more technical difficulties here in a minute.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, let's hope not. Oh,
this is why this podcast is edited.
Yeah.
I just had to sign into network on my phone, and I'm like, I'm not at a McDonald's. Clearly, I'm not at a McDonald's.
No.
Yeah.
So, did she come in?
Yeah,
She here?
Her. Maybe. Yeah.
Is she here?
Maybe. I can go check. Oh, there she is!
You can come in.
Hey, come
It's
on
an
in,
edited
Mom.
podcast, so
Yeah, come on.
we'll switch seats. You might want that.
Yeah, I might want that.
I had to run to the gas station and get ice.
Why? Did it shut off again?
There's a little ice stealer.
Hello, Melanie.
Hello.
Mrs. Gigabytes, what do you prefer?
Either one's fine.
How are you today?
Wet.
Oh.
It's raining.
It is here as well, occasionally.
Let's try and keep the microphone out of somebody's face. That was a problem earlier.
Yeah. Well, you know.
So, we're still recording yet. So go ahead and speak into the microphone. You might have to scoot up a little bit
I
because
don't want to
it's
scoot up. That better?
probably
I don't know.
not from that angle, but it's fine. We'll make it work. We'll fix it in editing. That's the deal.
It'll be fine.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you need to talk so that we can get a level.
I thought I already talked.
Do that one more time.
Okay.
Well, that'll work. That's good enough.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Testing.
Now, I have to make sure that you're able to talk at a level that I don't have to correct in editing. So that's the thing.
So should I talk like I'm at work?
So, I should leave all this in so people know where the sausage is made.
Why not?
So anyway, so now that we switched places, our fourth guest has joined us for the podcast, and this is my wife Melanie.
Hello.
And the reason we've kind of gathered everybody together, and the reason we gathered everybody together here is that we have different experiences and with video games growing up. And why don't you go ahead and tell us about what it was like when you started playing video games? What was your experience like? That type of thing.
I'd have to say when I first started playing video games, I started with a Nintendo. Way back in elementary school. It rained. I was always a console because my family did not want to have a computer, and I think it was because they're trying to keep us from the internet, but it is what it is. We've played on the Nintendo, Super NES, N64s. Didn't really start upgrading to the higher class consoles until my adulthood, where we got the original Xbox, and then the Xbox 360, and then now we've got Xboxes, Wii's, Yobos, N64s, PS2s, all throughout the house. So
what are some of your favorite games to play? What did you play growing up, and then what do you play now?
We primarily it was like Donkey Kong and Super Mario, the series of the Super Mario Brothers, and then also once my father really loved playing Super Mario Kart.
Your
Yes.
dad played video games.
He played video games with us. He is the one that turned us onto the N64. So he Super Mario Kart, and then also the Super Mario 4 N64 was his other favorite. I would figure it would have been fishing games, but that's what he absolutely loved. Right now we're it depends on which child I'm playing with or if I'm by myself. We've got a lot of Fortnite. Phasmophobia is a good one. We've got my youngest like to play Roblox. We play those together. We got Slime Rancher. We've got Doom. It's a very wide range of type of games that we play.
And it's the new Doom. It's not like the 8-bit.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that one yet. So, but yeah, it's primarily, we don't have a classification of the type of games. I mean, we even got Sims 4. I can't remember the game that we play. No Man's Sky.
Oh, No Man's Sky. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I haven't played it for a while, so I couldn't remember it. So, but you know, we have a very wide variety of games, and I still linger on the consoles. I'm computers because I didn't grow up doing that, so it's a hard thing to build muscle memory with. So I'm still consoles, but I'm not opposed to PC or games. Yeah.
You still have many of the original ones from from the start.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Still
yeah.
working brilliantly. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't have like a Super NES or a Nintendo. I've got a Yobo.
Yeah.
So that
Right.
plays both, which is amazing. But yeah, we still have them all.
That's good.
Yeah, we
Need you
still,
look after them then.
yeah, we still have. I've got an Atari. I've got NES, Super NES. She had the GameCube, but I think my brother gave me one as well.
Well, my GameCube broke.
But I've actually never played the GameCube. I've never played an N64. Yeah, that was basically, those came out at a time when I was really focusing on the on computers. I was playing DOS games and I really got. Even though it takes some getting used to, keyboard and mouse controls were better for me than a controller. It just WASD and the mouse that was easier for me to do than having a controller. Now, like a Super NES controller, that was pretty much where I stopped using controllers. That's there. After that, there was too many buttons, too many hats, too many whatever. So
Yes, it can be like that. Yeah.
So what was it? So Jamie, what was it? Some people who know you might know some of your history and that type of thing. But you and
Maybe.
are closer in experience because it was you had some consoles, but you didn't. For the most part, you started off on computers, Amigas and Commodore 64.
Yeah. The C64. Yes, 1985 we got that. So I was about 4 at the time. No, it wasn't. Sorry, 1987. Sorry, my bad. 1987 we got that. So yeah, I think it was about 3.
Yeah, the C64.
Yeah, I was about 5 years old.
So the C64 was your first. Was the
That
first
was
foray.
it still works. It still works. It's a bit yellowed, but it's still working great.
That kind of I kind of envy you there because my C64 got lost in a move.
Oh really?
My original one, and I really regret that. So I've had to replace it in the recent years, and I was fortunate enough to come across one at a pawn shop and was able to pick it up pretty cheap with a bunch of accessories and disk drives and things like that. But
yeah.
So what sort of your whole channel is about the games that you used to play, the games that you grew up playing, the games that a lot of people grew up playing. So
Mostly, it's mostly Commodore. Yeah, mostly. The occasional other system does come into play it from time to time, but yeah, that's the main focusing point. Yes. Yeah. More memories with those systems. Yeah.
So what are for those who don't know, what are some of your favorite games to play?
Well, to be honest, I think I was quite lucky that it was the Commodore 64. Of course, yes, many people had NESs and SNESs, but yeah, that's where we started, and we never really sort of changed from that. It was Commodore from then. It always has been, really. And of course, then Amiga took center stage. And yes, I'm a big Amiga fan, of course. As you can see, the boxes are there. Yeah, I mean, 1989, we got the Batman pack. I mean, if you know me very well, of course, yes, shoot 'em ups are my favourite, of course. I play those to absolute death. Those and platformers are the ones I probably enjoyed the most. But I still love the nostalgia of the old school. Even like loading, yes, they did take time to load. I like that. I still think that is a good thing, I think. Of course, all the old school games don't need to be updated, so like all modern consoles do, so that's a good thing. And they work. They still work brilliantly. The occasional one probably, has probably seen better days, but thick discs don't last forever, of course. But the majority of them are working well, yeah. But yeah, I've played a lot of games, and I really, really have, yes.
And you don't have a real strong preference between an emulated classic game, and one that's played on original equipment, or do
Well,
you?
I don't really use emulation. I've used FSUIE a few times, but I've never done videos with it. It's the original hardware which I love the most. Of course, there is problems with that. Yes, of course, they're expensive to keep going. I can understand why people use emulation. It's very reliable. It's cheaper and it works. But there's something about the old school which I still love, of course. But yeah, there's quite a lot of systems because I use original hardware. There's quite a lot of systems I haven't tried because it's, of course, everything's going up in value now. But yeah, it's 9 times out of 10. It's the original hardware that I use. Yeah.
Yep. I think you've used like the C64 and the C64 Mini.
Yeah.
Some people call that emulation just because but it's not really emulation. It's still hardware.
It is. Yeah.
It's not original hardware, but it's still hardware. So.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But that's another podcast. So. That's that. I say that a lot because this podcast almost said that's another podcast. But,
yeah. Well, it's nice to have a plan, isn't it?
Yep. So do either of you play any old games like
Oregon Trail?
Oregon Trail?
Oh, that was a favorite at school, Oregon Trail.
I played that at school once, or twice, or 15 times.
Once or twice.
I don't know that one.
I mean, they had the link to it online, so it became one of my new favorite games to play at school.
No, that was distributed in the United States. That was distributed by MECC, MECC. That was Minnesota Educational Something Corporation. It was. I have it. I have Oregon Trail on DOS on CD, which is you don't think of DOS games and CD-ROMs that much, but this is a DOS version on a CD-ROM, and I bought it I bought it in the store that way, so
yeah.
But that kind of brings us to the. So, like, when I was growing up, games were not a huge part of my life. You have, like you, Jamie, you had the C64. That was your gaming machine, really.
Yes.
That was, and I noticed that people in Europe, in the UK, that was a major part of their experience growing up. It wasn't so much consoles, so much as it was the computers, and they happened to play games.
Yeah, a lot of my friends in school had the consoles. I suppose in a way I had the best of both worlds because we used to go around people's houses after school. So sometimes they experience what I'm into, and then of course I experience what they're into. So yeah, it was quite a good thing actually.
So when I was growing up, I had cousins that had Atari. I had cousins that had Atari and consoles, and they were the lucky ones. And so I would go over and play on their systems. I had a friend that was just maybe a city block away that I would go over all the time and try to play his Atari. And he had all kinds of games. He had all the accessories. And that's what he would play all day long. And
which Ataris was it? Was it the 2600?
Yep.
Was it that?
Yep, the 2600. And that was a lot of what it was when I was growing up. Well, then my dad bought a Commodore 64. But the thing with the Commodore 64, he went into the room and didn't emerge until for about a week or 2 weeks later when he had finally programmed this artillery game where you take turns shooting at each other and you put the angle in and the power and there's a lot of different clones like that of that game, but sat down, programmed that game out of a book, and put it on disc, and he said, "Here, I'll show you this really neat game." And I played it for a little bit. Then he shut it off, and then I went, "Wow, that's kind of neat." It didn't really strike me until he had shut the computer off. Well, I managed to turn the computer back on, but I had no idea at 8 years old how to use that computer. I didn't know what command he typed in. I thought I tried to remember, and that was my first in-home video game experience. But the way over here, the way the Commodore was presented, it was a business machine. It was not an arcade machine. It was not, even though it's essentially the same machine that you had. Over here, it was marketed as a competitor to like IBM and Apple and that type of thing. So the Apples were the education machines, and that's what we had at school. These green screen Apple IIe's. We played Oregon Trail on it.
Yeah, we had the BBC Micro, we had those Epson printers, the dot matrix printers, which of course was extremely loud. I do remember those. Yeah, but Granny's Garden, I can vaguely remember that as well at school. So yeah.
But it wasn't until junior high for me, it wasn't until junior high school that there was, the junior high schools got the newer Apple II GS's, and I played a lot on those. We had a computer lab we could go to. We also had Apple IIe's, which eventually got moved down to the elementary schools. But I played on those computers, and that's when I really finally got a feel for it. But again, in school, there are some games, but it was educational. There was you typed up a letter or a report on it. It was very utilitarian. There was consoles were for gaming, computers were for work, and that was how I grew up. Well, it wasn't until I got the Commodore as a hand-me-down when I went, you know what? I know I can play some games on here. What else can I play on this? And after I got the Commodore as a hand-me-down, I bought an Atari 2600 to kind of tide me over for gaming and whatnot. And then my parents bought a Nintendo, an NES, and that was kind of the start of, because my dad played video games at the time. He played some video games, but it really wasn't this huge thing with him. And I talked to other people his age, and even when they had a video game console in their house, they didn't really play video games. Like with her dad, I knew he had tried to play fishing games, but he didn't like them. They just weren't real enough for him. He was an avid fisherman, and he just didn't like the fishing video games. But I didn't realize he played Mario Kart. That's a new one on me. So it's just kind of it's this weird thing where you have baby boomers that video games were never a major part of their life at all, and a few of them started to get into it when video games became more ubiquitous. Then there's Gen Xers like you and me that we sort of grew up as video games evolved, and and we just had you and I had different experiences. And then there's then my wife is technically a millennial, but she won't admit to it.
I'm a goonie.
And video games were pretty much ubiquitous by the time she was born. 1982 onward, video games were everywhere. And Serenity, they're almost boring because it's she plays them, but it's just like, well, this is how life works. It's just it's normal to play video games. And I am kind of curious because there's always been this this divide, this gender divide between men and women in terms of video games, the types of video games that you play. Have you ever felt that? Has that ever been an issue for you?
Not for me. I mean, I've played Call of Duty,
What?
you know, done all that fun stuff. So,
What'd
you
you
feel
say?
there's a divide between
A gender divide. Have you ever felt a gender divide when you're playing video games?
No.
That's a no.
What?
Because there was this thing in the early 2000s called Gamergate. I don't know if you remember that, Jamie. I don't know if
Okay.
it was
I'm
just
not sure.
it was just barely on my radar just because of the circles that I traveled in, and where there was a lot of misogyny going on toward female gamers that were basically, they were playing Call of Duty. I know you've played Call of Duty and
Yep.
you like first person shooters and
Oh, I've,
Yep.
I've also played Call of Duty.
and
you
Rainbow
play-
Six.
and Rainbow
Yeah.
Six.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of you like a lot of first person shooters. Well, when back in the early 2000s there was a Gamergate thing where they were essentially gatekeeping the video games and saying, well, no, girls can't play these first person shooters and it was a big mess and whatnot. There was more to it than what I'm telling, but it's but essentially that was it. It was all based on who could play and who couldn't play certain games and it was I don't know. I don't know if it ever got resolved. Well, clearly it has. It must have. So, because, she hasn't really felt that issue, and Serenity hasn't felt that issue, but we definitely gravitate in toward different games. I am a more of a strategy guy. I'm chess more than checkers type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I play No Man's Sky, I play Endless Sky, which is, I call it a space game for accountants. And but it's a lot of strategy, not so much shoot 'em up. It's you're building, you're expanding, you're growing your empire, that type of thing. And No Man's Sky, there is some shooting, but it's not and some combat, but it's a lesser part of the game. It's more you're going out and exploring and more of a sandbox type of a thing. Age of Empires I loved Age of Empires growing up, and I still
That was
play.
phone, wasn't it?
What's
That was on a phone game. That was on a phone game, wasn't it?
Well, it was later on when they were trying to bring it back. It was Age of Empires Castle Siege, and I did play that too. And it was kind of a really stripped down version of Age of Empires, really built for the phones at the time, and now it's no more. They got rid of it, but I'm guessing they probably sold it off to another company because there are a lot of similar video games that on the phone that are like Castle Siege. But anyway, some of the things when I watch you play video games, when I'm watching you on your live streams, and I do it a lot, even though you might not even know I'm there. I lurk a lot.
That's no problem. No problem at all.
When I'm watching the Amiga video games, I'm like, well, you play Zool. You've played Zool on the Amiga, I believe.
Yeah.
And of course I played it when I did the Amiga Mini, Amiga Mini. Yeah, he's got the box version. There you go.
All the box. All the box. Yes.
And we were, I I was looking at that, and it's like, well, that was ported to every system on the planet practically. And
Yeah.
we even got a DOS version of it, and I remember playing it a little bit in DOS, even though I really suck at it now for some reason. But but yeah, I have fond memories of that. And there's a lot of Amiga games that got ported to DOS. There are even Amiga games before there was FSUAE. There are Amiga games that got ported over to Linux that have been in the Linux repository forever. There's Flight of the African Queen, which is a point-and-click adventure type of game. Have you played that one?
No, I know you've mentioned it before. I've not played it, no.
Yeah. Then there's a couple others that they ported over from Amiga and whatnot. So, and so it's even though I've never played an Amiga, or not much really anyway. Now that I've got the Amiga Mini.
The Mini you have now, yes.
But
yes.
I haven't played it. I haven't played the Mini much, or the Amiga much. I remember playing some of these games in DOS. So, in that respect, that we have there's a very similar experience there, but just on different systems. So
yeah.
But have you played? You haven't played many DOS games. It's mainly been Commodore and.
We did have a really old school PC. We bought it from a shop called Tiny, and we didn't have internet for quite a long time. But yeah, we had Doom 2, we had Day of the Tentacle, Sam and Max Hit the Road, Indiana Jones: Fate of Atlantis. We had that, and there was a few strategy games. We had Outposts, which I didn't really sort of fully understand how to play that. But we didn't have a controller or joystick. It was always keyboard and mouse. But yeah, we didn't have a large amount,
Right.
but we had some experience. Yeah, the occasional CD has survived over the years. But yeah, some experience with DOS.
Basically, I went from the Atari and the Nintendo, Super Nintendo. I went straight into PC gaming. So, and I didn't do a lot of it for decades. I think like for 2 decades, I really didn't game that much. I played Age of Empires. I played a couple of games, but nothing like some people have played. And I didn't really have consoles either too much. I had a Super Nintendo. That was kind of one of the last consoles I had. And then I went from Super Nintendo to the Wii. And
yeah. Everyone was away, didn't they?
Yep. And we ended up with 3 of them somehow. But
what in each room?
Yeah, they gave one to my stepson, and we've got one as a family, and I had one that I bought for the office so I could exercise in the office, do Wii Fit and things like that. That's around here somewhere. What?
Oh wow.
Oh wow! What?
Yeah.
So,
are there games that you all play together? I mean, of course, there are some Wii games that you can, like Mario Kart, for example, you can all join in at once. You do that much, all of you?
We used to do like the Rabbids TV. That was a family favorite because you could have up to 4 players. We used to be able to get a lot of the bulk of the family on Fortnite, but we had some people pull away from Fortnite. Mr. Serenity. So that's a myself and my son thing going on, but I know my 2 youngest like to play Roblox, so I'll play with them on that. But as getting Mr. GB here in on everything, he doesn't play any of that stuff. I don't play Roblox. I didn't play Fortnite. I didn't play, and the Rabbids game, I would watch them play it. I wouldn't actually play it myself. The Rabbids game was amazing. I loved it.
It was.
Yeah, I think I have played actually.
I didn't like it, but there were certain aspects of it that I found entertaining. But the game that I've actually been in that actually got me into playing with anybody else, because I don't play games with anybody else typically.
I really mean.
Yeah, it's is the Lego Fortnite. So, and it's a survival building game, and it's like I saw it, I saw the Lego part of it, and I went, yeah, that's kind of neat. That might be something I could get into. And then they brought the Star Wars in, and I went, okay, twist my arm. I guess I'll go install it. I put it on my computer, and I play it with the keyboard and mouse. So, but they play it on the Xbox.
Yep. Serenity must have some Lego at home, I imagine. Real proper Lego.
No, not really.
Huh?
It's all in April's room now.
Yeah, right.
Legos.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have a giant bucket full of Legos, and they used to be mine. And I handed them down, and I've kept a lot of the sets together. I've got I reprinted instructions for the old sets, because I've lost the instructions, and then they don't play with them. You know, it's Roblox and Minecraft and, you know, all the Lego type video games. So
I feel like I'm getting targeted over here.
you're targeted.
Is Roblox a free game then? Is that free?
Yes.
It is.
But you got the in-game purchases though. That's what they get you.
You get Robux and buy more skins, and so that's the thing. That's the thing about modern games that really turns me off is all the in-game purchases. Like, you have to buy things in order to advance. And I stopped playing. There was because I play in Linux almost exclusively. I played a Steam game that worked really well in Linux. It was World War II Fighting Aces or something like that. I have to look. I have World War II and World War I, where you fly around in a plane, you do these missions, you bomb ships and trains, and you shoot down the other planes, and it's really fun. And the controls are really nice. The problem is that they've now made it. When I first started playing, you could advance through the game and get bigger and bigger planes and get more stuff. Well, there are certain planes that are locked. You have to go and buy them, and it's like,
it's quite sneaky, really, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm just not. And then like with Roblox and Fortnite especially, there's all this merchandise, right? All it is skins and weapons, and they don't give you any advantage in the game. It's just to make your character look cool. And that just, I'm like, just give me the default skin. I'm fine with that. You know, I don't need anything fancy. I'll play the game with whatever you give me. And so I just, even though you can, without paying for Fortnite, you can play it without buying anything. You don't get to earn all of the stuff. Well, that never matter to me that much anyway. So now that I'm playing the Legos, I did go and earn enough V-Bucks to buy a set of barns that I could put in the Lego game. But see, that gives you an advantage in the game. You know, so you have something else to build in the game. So
so Roblox is different. It's not really like you. I mean, you can buy characters and like customize them with like different clothes that you buy with Robux. Then you can like get like private servers in certain games, and you can even like get early access to other games instead of waiting 10 million years to just play it. So
see, and there's an advantage there, but for me, that doesn't sell me on the game. For someone like me, that doesn't sell me on the game. It's just, I don't care about any of that. But I suppose you guys are going to have to get going because Robert's not here.
Yeah, he's kind of MIA.
So, but go ahead and go, and I'll explain your disappearance in the edit.
I faded into the void.
Thank you.
Bye. Nice meeting you.
And you. And then there were two.
Now that our other guest stars have gone, when my parents got an IBM compatible, they started at a 386, And then I got the Commodore, and I really dug into it. I started. I was actually able to in school. Most kids at my school still didn't have any sort of computer. They had to use the school's computers, so it wasn't as ubiquitous as it is today. But I had a Commodore. I had a word processing software, and I had spreadsheet software that I didn't really know how to use, and and I had a little 9-pin dot matrix printer, and I would type up things, reports and whatnot, because my handwriting is atrocious. I would get points marked off for bad handwriting, and so it's like, well, let's. I think I'm going to learn how to type.
Yeah.
So, did you when at school when you were growing up? What was kind of the dynamic there when you be with computers that you grew up with personally, and then they came into this? Did they come? Were they were in the school before you had one, or?
I think they was already there. We started off with Windows 3.1. I think that's what we had at school as well. It might have been Windows 95 at one point, but it was quite an old Windows. But yes, we was at 3.1 for quite a number of years. We stayed there. Then we took a huge leap to XP, and then I think it was Vista. It was quite staggered, but yeah, at school it was pretty basic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did a lot of word processing, Excel, databases, all that sort of stuff. And I can't remember what the clip art program was, but we did some of that as well. But we only had like one IT lesson a week anyway. It was about 45 minutes long. But yeah, it's quite vague actually. It was quite basic, but I suppose it wasn't a bad thing.
Were you the computers that you had in when you were going to school? Did they? Obviously the school has got the funding for the computers, but at home, did you have anything? Did you have a printer, and did you have word processing software, or it was just mainly a gaming thing for at home?
It was just gaming at home, yeah. It took us quite a number of years till we got our first PC. And yes, things like encyclopedias got used for like school revisions, so we say. But back then, it was like you want to learn something, you get the encyclopedia book off the shelf and read through that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite a long wait until we got a PC at home. So yeah, it was pretty much games at home, and word processing was at school. And eventually, yeah, we got it, but it was a long time until we did.
See, I think that's kind of typical of what happened. What was over here is like the other kids would have PCs, but they were mainly used for entertainment, or they would have consoles at home and no PC. So I think that was a lot of the experience for most people growing up when while I was growing up, and that sort of it sort of continues to this day. Now, this is where it kind of crosses over.
Right.
April is 9 years old. She taught herself to read, not by reading books, but by playing Roblox.
All right.
So she would play the games on Roblox, and it would type it because there's no, you can't put like at the time you couldn't put audio into the Roblox game. You had to type everything out. Mm-hmm. And so the older kids would be reading it on the screen, and of course they'd be reading it on the screen. We also do closed captions on the TV, so we turn those on all the time. So between that and Roblox, she learned how to read very early. Mm. So people vilify. Now, the interesting thing is, like, when Serenity was April's age, when Serenity was 5, Roblox was still a thing. Roblox was just becoming a thing. But there was a lot of controversy around it. So we actually prevented her from using Roblox. And maybe that made sense at the time, but you got to kind of wonder as a parent, did it hold her back? You know, did not allowing her to play video games, or that particular video game, did that hold her back from reading? Now she's still a pretty strong reader, but it's not. She's nowhere near the level of April, and so, you know, so the sort of things that, you know, people think, older people in particular think video games are just a waste of time. They don't teach you anything. And I would say no. I think you and I, even playing like Doom, I played Doom and Wolfenstein and that type of thing. Descent was one of my favorite games.
Mm-hmm.
I think even in those games we learned there's hand-eye coordination, there's motor skills involved, there's logic. You play a lot of puzzle games.
Yes.
You seem to be very adept at it, in fact.
Yeah, I can get quite addicted to the puzzle games quite easily. Yes.
What are some of the other things that what do you think are some of the lessons that you took away from your video game experience?
I mean, we quite liked a lot of the point and clicks, because I suppose that is, you know, you're using your brain. You pick an item, where you take it, where you're going to use it, who you're going to speak to. We did play quite a lot of those. But yeah, puzzle games, yeah, of course I love as well. But yeah, a lot of the genres I was really into, it's not really sort of about thinking it through. It's just blast it. But yeah, the occasional point and clicks we quite enjoyed.
No.
Yeah. My mum, of course, my mum remarried, and my stepdad always used to say, "I don't mind you playing games where you're using your brain." And also, he was wasn't overly impressed that we spent so much money on these games. But we always keep saying, because he said that brain thing, we always need to keep using that. Well, no, we're using our brain here. This is a game we're using our brain. So we thought, if we keep saying that each time, he'll let it slide, you know.
So even your shoot 'em ups, there's a puzzle aspect to it. There's a memorization. Yeah. There's memorization. There's a puzzle aspect to it. There's problem solving.
Yeah. There is a lot of trial and error. Yeah, a lot of, you know, remembering the patterns and all that. I mean, I did a long play on Saturday actually, and that hasn't been uploaded yet. But yeah, it's there's a lot to think about, I suppose, in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched you struggle through Blood Money on those streams, and it was, and it's like every time I'd see it, you'd get a little further, and
yes, and now I've done it, I've achieved it. So yeah, it was.
Yeah, you did that long play not too long ago.
I was tickled pink with that. I thought, when I did that, I thought, right, we've got to go up another gear, so we've got to record that now, because people are not going to believe otherwise that you've done it. So people have said to me, it's impossible. It's not impossible. It's just rather challenging. So yeah, that was the main one. There's always one specific game that gets streamed quite a bit, and the viewers do get kind of engaged with it. But yes, it was Blood Money for a while. And when I look back at my older stuff, you know, I was getting nowhere. But I got nowhere back in the day either. But yeah, it's just sometimes the streams helps me get better, because if the people are there watching and rooting me on, that gives me quite a little bit of a boost. So
I was gonna say you watch a lot of you watch other streamers, other retro streamers, don't you? Not a lot of them, but
not many now. There's not many. There was a few that were doing it, and of course they've, you know, got girlfriends, they're married now, got children of their own, they can't do it as much. So it's not as many now, but most people are on Twitch more than on YouTube, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It seems, anyway.
Do you get sort of an inspiration from watching? Did you get inspiration from watching those other streamers?
When I've lived in Kent pretty much most of my life, but I did move away when I met my ex. I moved away for about 8 years. And I didn't really sort of play many games during those years, but I was watching a few just random streamers, and that sort of made me think, maybe this is something I could do. I kept thinking about it, and I quite enjoyed, commenting and leaving remarks on how to do it, or helping them with the game, should we say. And of course, we split up and I moved back, and I didn't really sort of. It took me a couple of months to think, right, why not do what I was going to do? Why not see if I can do it? Let's give it a whirl. I mean, what have we got to lose? So yeah, I started the channel in 2017, quite late in 2017. Yeah. And I wasn't really expecting to get very far. I wasn't really expecting to reach 100 subscribers. But yeah, the first few streams I did, it took about 15 minutes for the first person to arrive. And it just got better and better. I mean, I didn't really have much of a social life anyway, but that sort of brought it really back into my life. And I've met quite a lot of nice people now, and I just kept going from strength to strength, just kept going with it. And it's a big part of my life now, yeah.
I think that the community around your channel is incredible. It's you're not drawing like Mr. Beast type numbers, but it's not necessarily about quantity, it's about quality. It's about the people who are come to your streams and watch your streams. They're really decent people. They're for the most part. There are one or two exceptions on occasion, but they're not on the channel anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there are some channels where it's all singing, all dancing. There's all this fancy stuff going on screen. I've never really wanted that. It just the viewers for me is the most important. The game is just a bonus, But I just want just a simple setup is all I wanted. Yes, it's quite expensive. Not going to lie, I spent a lot of money on it, and of course you've seen vlogs, you've seen the struggles I've had, but I feel like I'm pretty much there now. But yeah, I'm never going to be these really top. It's never going to be thousands and thousands of millions. It's never going to be like that. But part of me doesn't really want it to be anyway. It's a nice number I've got at the moment in time, and yeah, it does mean a lot that loads of people join in on a Friday night, but yeah, it's good. I
very rarely miss a stream. Very rarely.
I appreciate it.
And usually
yes,
the ones
Josh is a huge been supporting a very long time. I mean, I'm intrigued actually, Josh. I never actually asked you. What was the first video you saw of mine? I'm quite intrigued actually. What was? Can you remember?
Oh boy.
I remember the first one I saw of yours. I think you was doing some retro writing on a C64 disk drive.
Yep.
And the front went a little bit out of shape, should we say?
Yeah, the front was made out of a different plastic that doesn't have the same heat tolerance as ABS plastic that the regular case is made of. Yeah. Boy, I don't remember because I came to your channel in about 2018, and I knew you had started. I knew you started about a year before I did. And because I started toward the end of 2018, and then I think I'm pretty sure it was close to the end of when I started my channel. All of a sudden, YouTube started suggesting a couple of videos of yours to me. And
really?
I want to say it was some kind of a repair video, one of your early ones. Like before the C64 joystick, you were showing how to do something, and that was I like the way he did that, and I like then I discovered some of your retro stuff. You're doing C64 stuff, and at the time I was starting to get back into that, because I remember the thing that surprised me, and I always knew the C64 could play games. And I didn't realize how big of a part. That's kind of the reason for the podcast, or for this podcast, is I didn't realize how big of a gaming community the C64 had until I started looking at I started looking at your channel. Then I started looking at all of the games for the C64 that there were. There were tens of thousands of games for the C64. It has a catalog like no other system, whether it's console or PC or anything. It's just the number of games for the C64 is just immense, and the community has been amazing trying to maintain these old systems, maintain the disk drives, maintain the systems themselves, and then people who used to program for the C64 and the 8-bit guy and they're all making new games for it, and it's like, well, maybe this system isn't as dead as we thought. Because it's interesting the way, and once again, this is another podcast, but just briefly, the retro, and I've written on this topic, retro systems go through this life cycle where you have it comes out, there's excitement around it, it becomes popular, and then it kind of wanes as other new things come out, and then it finally gets to the point where you can. Like an Atari 2600 when it was new was $200. I was picking them up for $10 at a rummage sale with a box full of games. They were so devalued that nobody cared about them anymore. They were moldering away in people's basements and things like that. Well, once they become devalued, then people suddenly realize, oh wait, we're starting to lose these games. I remember these from my childhood. Maybe we need to start rescuing them and collecting them and getting a piece of our childhood back. So then you get that nostalgia thing. Then they start creeping back up again, and now you have Atari 2600s being sold for $500 on eBay. It's like
it's crazy, isn't it?
It's just insane. And the Wii sort of broke that mold. So that was the first system where maybe not the first system, but one of the first systems where the company who made it determined its life cycle. So basically they just said, well, we're not gonna support it anymore. We're cutting off all services for it. We're not there's no internet services, no nothing. But there was always this homebrew place, these homebrew community that hacked them and turned them in so that you could play other games on them. And now they've sort of become a retro system before their time, but they're still in the devalued phase. You can go to a pawn shop, pick one up with controllers and a game, and for $30. They're still devalued, but yet there's this community around it that are enthusiasts and whatnot. So, well, I think what we'll do is we'll sort of end the podcast there. And I really appreciate your time and
no problem at all.
And it was really good talking to you.
And you?
We're hopefully we'll be able to do more videos like this. This is the first podcast we did with video, and hopefully everything will turn out all right. So go ahead and plug your channel real quick and tell people where they can find you.
Well, first, I want everyone to appreciate what Josh is doing here. He's a super dude. He's been a huge supporter of my channel. I seriously, I don't think I would be here without Josh, because he donated an amazing PC, which pretty much saved the channel because it was looking quite doom and gloom at the time. The problem is I'm not really... I can't fix things. I can't mod things. All I can do is I can game, and I'm pretty good at games. Not all games, of course, but it's a big part of me. But Josh has been a huge supporter. I cannot thank Josh enough. So please do subscribe, like, comment on Gigsplained Technologies. I know some people tend to not say very much, but just give them a comment. Appreciate it. I always appreciate what you do. And
I appreciate your channel too, Morgan Just Games on YouTube. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So Morgan's Games. Yes, I'm on most platforms. You can find it very easy. Been saying that for years, and yeah. it's a bigger part of my life now. I really do enjoy it.
It's hard to plug your own stuff, isn't it? I tell you.
It is actually. Yeah, I don't tend to do it very much. I don't really sort of tend to make. I don't really make requests. I don't really do that. So of course, I get many requests from the viewers.
Yep.
I don't really want to sort of plug myself, but just want to say thank you to everyone, really.
Yep.
And thank you for all your time as well.
Yep, you bet. I appreciate you, and thank you very much. And so on behalf of Jamie and Serenity and myself, this has been Gigsplained podcast. So
Take it easy.